What's good? Live. This is Joe. I'm at the park today. It's a beautiful weather today, You don't really experience these type of weathers here in the Netherlands in Amsterdam, so I'm outside enjoying it while I still can, of course. Um Today I had a conversation with my sister and it was deep. We're talking about um failure. What is failure? You know? Like I asked her what failure was, and she couldn't even give me a straight answer because it's it's such an abstract word. Like what failure is to you doesn't have to mean that it is failure to me. It's so relative. I don't think that the word failure exists, to be honest. I don't consider anything as a failure. How can you say that you did something and you failed? That's impossible. When you did something, that is the ultimate accomplishment or success, or what success even is. Like failure and success is relative. It's not an absolute term. That's why this society tries to paint failure or success as something that is absolute and something to be obtained. Like this is what success is, and everybody should go for that success. But that's some bullshit. That's some bullshit, and I think that's why a lot of people get stressed out, because they don't really know what success is, and they stress out when they quote unquote failed. When you made a mistake, would you consider that as a failure? Because in some cultures, there is no such thing as failure. So I think it's weird when people say that failure is when you do something and it didn't work out the way you want it to work out. That to me is not failure. Or I don't consider that failure at all. Anything you do is a form of success. You feel me? It's a form of accomplishment, and if we look at it from that point of view, it becomes so much more more reasonable, because it doesn't matter how you look at it. We kind of define the words, just like the N word. Some people use it as a term of endearment, and some people just use it. Some people consider that a derogatory term. It's what meaning you give to the word is what makes the word. So failure to me is redundant. It's a word that doesn't exist to me. I don't even consider failure or whatever. So yeah, you shouldn't really. I feel like when you want to do something in life, you should always just make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons, and not because you want to please another person or whatever, because that to me is not the right reasons. You're just doing it to make another person happy. And what about you? The only person that matters is you. Shouldn't give a fuck about what people think about what you're doing. If you have pleasure in it and you're doing it for the right reasons, like you're making yourself happy and you're edifying yourself, you should go ahead and do it. But for you to do it because you want to please another person, that to me is crazy. Like, I had a conversation today with my sister, and she was talking about how it's a shame how young students, between the age range of 15 to 25, they go to college because their parents want them to go to college. And I just asked myself, why would you fucking go to college if you know that that's not what you want to do, but you just do it just to please your parents? You should realize one thing. One day, your parents are going to pass away, and it's just going to be you. And if you know that college is nothing for you, you shouldn't do it. You should just go ahead and do what you want to do. Live life the way you want to live life. You come to a certain age where you realize that you're well equipped to think for yourself and to do things for yourself, and you kind of know what you want. And whether your parents agree with it or not, it's not really up to them to tell you what to do. They should just, I feel like your parents should just respect your decision, whatever that is, because now you have become an adult and you're capable of making your own decisions. You feel me? So I think that I just think it's BS when you have these students, they sit in class and they don't really want to be there, but because their parents are like forcing them to be there and they're paying their college tuition and stuff like that, like, who the fuck are you fucking playing, you know? And the worst part about it is that they don't really do anything with the degree that they get eventually. Like for instance, I dropped out of college because I noticed that this shit is not conducive to me. I'm not really learning anything, and I'm just wasting my money. The only reason why I truly went to college was because everybody around me went to college. So I'm like, okay, maybe I should do the same thing. But knowing the person that I am, it never worked for me. I never liked it. I just did it because I just followed the crowd. And that's the worst thing you could do if you follow other people. If you follow other people and you don't follow yourself, every day you're going to feel like a piece of shit. Like, why am I following other people? Why am I doing this? Just because I want some status. I want people to look at me and look at me as if I've accomplished something. You know? That's not accomplishment. That's like you're bending over backwards for other people. I feel like you only have one life to live and you should do what the fuck you want to do. No matter what it is. You know, life is so much more beautiful if you just decide to do what you want to do. But a lot of people are just so governed by other people's principles that they don't even know what their own principles are. They're so conditioned to society that they don't even know how to think for themselves or what to think, you know? And I feel like you should really take the time out and just ask yourself, like, how much do I know by myself? How much do I actually know? If you like take the time to think those things, then you realize that you don't know that much and there's so much more to gain. And you will realize how much of a lie the society, your parents, people around you have been. Because they have been conditioned just like you were. You know? It might take another lifetime to recondition yourself to thinking the way you want to think, to create your own thoughts, you know? So yeah. So it's real deep, you know, like you just gotta ask yourself, like, why are you doing the things that you're doing? Like, I was thinking this the other day, right? It was about why people decide to have kids. Like, sometimes I wonder why people want to have kids. Like, do they even have a purpose for their children? Sometimes I feel like people are just having kids all around the place because they feel like that's the normal thing to do, or that's what society expects from them, you know, or that's what they see around them, so they go ahead and do it. But most of the time, they don't really have a goal for their child. Like, when a mother gives birth to her child, like, does she know what her child is destined to be? You know, like a lot of mothers don't even know what they want to do with their children. Like, what type of person do you want your child to be? You know, are you gonna govern your child to that path? The name you give your child, like, have you thought about that? When you're gonna give birth, you know? A lot of people don't know about astrology, but there's a whole science to it. Like, when you give birth to a child, the day, the time, when the planets were aligned, all of that forms a child. But because a lot of parents are not aware of that, they just Some of them just get shocked when they see their child doing something they didn't expect at all. You know, they get shocked because you didn't have any goal for your child. I feel like when you give birth, there should be a purpose to your children. Like, what do you want your children to be? What do you want them to look like or become? Or what do you want them to do in life? You know? But just to have children because they are a beautiful accessory, that's crazy. I think that's the reason why a lot of people want to have children, because it looks good. It makes them feel more mature. Like, I have children and now I'm more mature, and you know, I don't think that they don't really have an idea on why they have children. Like, when you really look at it, children are a mere continuation of their parents. They're your continuation. So when you give birth to your child, you have to make sure that you teach your children the right things. That you have a purpose for your children, and not just because you want to give birth and because it looks cool. But, you know, you're actually just bringing another spirit into this existence. So you really have to think about stuff like that, I feel like.